Hello, it's Doug from Behind Closed Doors, and I'm going to be doing another video on Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan. If you haven't seen my first video, you can go check out the link here, but let's get into this one.
Well, some of the opinions Andrew Tate shares in his videos are undeniably deeply offensive. We're going to show you some of them on this show.
Let's have a look then.
There's a lot of stuff you say I agree with. You know, I've got 3 sons in their 20s. It's not easy, actually, being a young male in the modern world. And I think a lot of the things that you say about that can resonate with them. Yeah. The problem comes with the, I don't know, 10, 20% or whatever of your output, which on the face of it appears to be blatant misogyny. And when you couple that with your massive influence and huge reach, that is why the social media companies have decided to effectively cancel you. I don't believe in cancellation. I don't believe in censorship particularly. That's why I've invited you to come on the show. But I do think a lot of the things you've said are blatant misogyny.
Well, a lot of the stuff that feminists say is misandry, but it's shoved down our throats all the time in mainstream media.
Misogyny. Do you accept that?
So you made a very interesting point there. You just said on the face of it appear to be blatantly misogynistic. I understand that on the face of some of the long format content I've made, if you're going to take a few seconds out of hours, chop it up, put it all over social media, accompanied with my massive fame, then things can absolutely not be taken out of context. I do not hate women in any regard. I have no negative relationship with women. No women have come forward saying I've hurt them. I have no criminal record for hurting women. There's no way I can be seen as the face or the devil in regards to how men treat women on the planet.
So let's just have a quick look at misogyny then, see what it means. So misogynist, a person who dislikes, despises, or is strongly prejudiced against women. So let's see what Piers Morgan is going to class as misogynistic behaviour.
Do you think women are the property of men?
No. The point I was making...
Why have you said they are?
Because I made a religious point. I said that when a man marries a woman, the woman's father walks her down the aisle, and hands her away to the man. Traditionally, this is what it says in the Bible. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I live in the most religious country in the world.
So you do think that the woman becomes the men?
I think she takes his last name.
I mean, let's watch the clip that you said about this so that we can get it in context.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. True or false?
Absolutely.
But I've been married twice, as it turns out, and on both occasions I didn't believe that the woman was being handed to me as chattel, as property.
I wouldn't put it like that.
Perhaps the way the reason I'm asked that question repeatedly, and I'm asked in a loaded way.
So would you rephrase what you said there?
Now, that's an interesting point about phrasing. The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept that if I make a video that 500 people see and 1% of them misunderstand it, that's not a problem. If I make a video that 5 million people see and 1% of them understand it.
So specifically...
Yeah, the reason why I can pretty much say what I think and feel and why my YouTube channel can still be here is because no one cares about what I think about. So it doesn't matter. And that's why when I was younger, like, I actually planned on becoming famous and I decided against it because I was a magician and I was planning on becoming a famous magician, and I didn't want to because anonymity, I like being free, and anonymity is such a beautiful gift to have. And so I never wanted to become famous. And the reason why I didn't care about being rich is because I realised that money wasn't real.
I think my sister is her husband's property. Do you regret saying it like that?
I understand that with my newfound fame, perhaps it could be phrased differently. However, I still believe that a woman is given to the man in marriage. That's what I believe.
Yeah, but not as property.
No, the property is the word that other people use when they ask me the question.
But as an equal partner in a loving union. That's what marriage actually means.
Yeah, say that in a divorce court. Yeah, ask a guy that in family court, see if it's that. Like, you know, when they take the property in fucking divorce. Fuck's sake.
Actually means. It doesn't mean that when you get married, the woman is given to you as a bit of chattel.
Agreed.
Let's just have a look at what the word property means. Looking at a lot of words today. Property, a thing or things belonging to someone. Well, that doesn't sound too bad, does it? Like, we belong to each other. Like, I'm your wife and you're my husband. It's not a bad thing. It's a fantastic thing to be able to belong to something, like belonging to a family, for example, when you take somebody's name. So it depends at which definition that you look at, I suppose.
Agreed.
So why say it?
But that's the way that people ask me the question. People say to me, they ask the
question.
Hang on,
you can't blame people for asking you questions. Surely If you want to be accountable for what
Again, I think he's referring to context there, Piers.
you've said, you've got to own your responses, not blame the question.
I own the response.
It'd be like me asking you a question now and you say something and then say, well, actually, I blame you for asking.
I understand, Piers. Piers, I understand. I believe the woman is given to the man. I believe she's given away by the father. I believe she belongs to the man.
There's that word again, belong.
She belongs to the man.
Fundamentally, all right. So fundamentally, you do believe that a woman becomes a man's property at
I
marriage.
believe she belongs to the man in marriage, correct?
You see, what Piers is trying to do is he's trying to use the word property in the sense of the objectification of women as if they're treated like objects in the world as opposed to people with agency. That's what Piers is trying to do by the use of the word property. And what Andrew is trying to do is say that you're my wife. That's it. I'm your husband, you're my wife. We belong to one another. It's not that fucking difficult.
Property at
I
marriage.
believe she belongs to the man in marriage, correct?
Right. Oh, you see, that to me is misogyny.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
Right. But do you not understand why people think it is misogyny?
I understand why some
I don't know what to say about that. Honestly, don't know what to say about that. That's ridiculous.
people can be very offended by what I say. What they do is they take a point like that and they ignore all the other points I make the other way around.
Yeah, but that's why I've repeatedly asked you about that line to see if you've changed your position. But the reality is you haven't.
It's not about changing positions. I'm a full-grown adult and I stick by the things I say and I'm responsible for them.
Which, by the way, is fine.
Absolutely.
But what you did say at the start of this little exchange, you said, I wouldn't maybe say things the same way now that I did before I was famous.
If people are going to change the meaning of what you're saying, like, again, this is, like I said in the other video, this is very similar to watching the Kathy Newman kind of Jordan Peterson interview. So what you're saying is this. No, that's not what I'm saying. And if you put any context around it, you understand what I'm talking about.
And yet, actually, you've doubled down and said exactly the same thing.
On certain points.
So that is what you believe. And that's my point.
Yes.
I'm trying to work out, look, I don't know you. We've
Correct.
just met, right?
Yeah.
Women belong to men, men belong to women. I can't wait for my man to come home. Hang on a minute, he's your man, he is not your property. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's misandry. Like, if I say that, it sounds ridiculous, but you use it the other way around, it's used all the time. Oh, when my woman comes home, she is not your woman. That is misogyny. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm trying to work out who Andrew Tate is and what you actually believe. I don't want to twist anything at all.
If you don't want to twist anything at all, then stop changing the definitions of what he means when he uses the word property. He's using it in the sense of belonging to someone. You're using it in the sense of property rights, like a house or a car. It's not how he's using it.
At all.
Then let me make it very, very clear to the camera. I believe a woman is given to the man in marriage. I believe that. I also believe a man has a duty to protect and...
You see, he's now explaining it as opposed to using the word property to avoid the property debate.
duty to protect and provide for her. I believe a man should lay down his life if something happens or his wife's life is threatened. I believe that women and children first are on the lifeboats.
But men,
I believe that men...
But a man doesn't own a woman.
It's not, no, it's...
Unless
Okay.
they literally buy them as a slave.
Well,
Oh, fucking hell.
obviously, we're not talking about that. We're talking about religious, biblical marriage. We're talking about something else.
Yeah, but I'm a Christian. I don't believe that I own my wife.
Do you believe your wife was given away to you when she took your life?
I don't believe that I own my wife. I don't treat my wife as property. The fact that you said my in that sentence, I could just easily change that and say, oh, you just said my, so that means you mean property, and so therefore you're misogynist. Where does it end? My wife? How dare you, Pierce? She is not your wife. She is not your property. It's like, we can play this game all day. What? Oh, this is my bag. This is my laptop. This is my wife. How dare you treat her in the same regard as you use the word my?
I own my wife.
Do you believe your wife was given away to you when she took your last name?
I believe that there is a process where a father traditionally walks his daughter down the aisle.
You see, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with Piers Morgan's belief systems here. We're not talking about anything that Andrew Tate said.
And hands his daughter to this man, and they stand there and become a union of two loving
we
people
agree.
in a partnership. No, there's no ownership involved.
A union, let's have a look at the word union. A union, a partnership, something you belong to.
I didn't say...
He's not selling her. The father of the bride isn't selling his daughter.
We know that, Piers. And also, what about what the fucking woman wants? Before you say about this misogyny. You know how, like, some people have dominant, submissive relationships, and they're like, oh, that's terrible. Oh, but, you know, if it's consensual, then it's fine. Well, what if the woman wants to be seen as property, even in the way that Piers means it? Even what if that's her kind of turn on, or that's what she's asking for? If it's consensual, is that okay? If a woman wants to feel like a man owns her and wants to feel like she's somebody's property, and you provide that for her as a man, is that still being misogynistic? By giving a woman what she wants, is that misogyny? He's not even taking into consideration what the woman wants. He's just trying to speak on behalf of women, like the bloody activists do. But he's not been elected by women to represent them. So how the fuck does he know what a woman wants or what is misogynistic or not? How does he get to make the definitions? It's just his subjective opinion.
No, absolutely.
That's
But
what property means. It's
She
not-
becomes a
it's not
member
like
of
a
your
house,
family.
is it?
I think we're arguing over semantics.
We're not, though, because fundamentally...
We're not, though. For fuck's sake, Piers. That's the most reasonable thing that anybody could have said. I think we're arguing over semantics here. I mean, that's why I brought the definitions of word. I would agree that you're arguing over semantics as well.
Fundamentally, I don't believe a man owns a woman. You do.
But that's your belief system, Piers, because you're deciding what you mean by ownership.
Well, I don't think a man owns any sovereign individual. I don't think we live in the world of slavery. I don't own any men or any woman.
Right.
Nobody owns
But when you
anybody.
use phrases like property, that's what you imply.
Well, that's what you think he implies, and it's more to do with your belief system. It's got nothing to do with what he's talking about.
I understand.
And so my point again is, you're a smart guy, right? There's no denying that. You're a smart, you're a good talker. I've seen a lot of the stuff. But when you, what I don't think you quite fully understand.
No, I understand
is that
very
when,
well,
when
Piers.
young, impressionable people
I understand
who
that
are
very
not
well.
as smart see things like, I think my sister is her husband's property, yes, and you've just reaffirmed that, that belief. They think that they have the right.
So now Piers has been thinking on behalf of women and assuming that he knows what they want. Now he's moved over to teenagers and he's assuming what their impressions and perceptions of the world are. Let's see what he's got to say about this.
They think that they have the right to own women.
What makes you think that they think that? Piers Morgan should be on America's Got Talent. Piers Morgan and his mind-reading abilities to be able to read the minds of women and read the minds of teenagers. He doesn't think that people are intelligent to be able to make decisions for themselves. He needs to think on their behalf for them, and he needs to protect them. Piers is acting like a white knight at the moment, which is really strange because, you know, the reason why he got into trouble in his last job, and I don't know if he got left or fired, I can't remember the exact circumstances, but the reason why this uncensored thing exists in the first place is because he was saying bad things about Meghan Markle. And she just happened to be a woman. So is he misogynist? I think she's full of shit. Oh, what, you think women are full of shit? No, that's not what I said. So what you're saying is that all women are full of shit. No, Meghan Markle's full of shit. Well, Meghan got offended. Ah, shit.
I understand that very well, Piers. Which
That's
is
why people think you're a misogynist.
Completely. I understand all of this very well, which is why when you're saying I was backtracking, I'm not.
Do you have any regret, though, over the way you phrased this stuff?
Well, this is the point I was trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is when I was not nearly as famous and I was making long format content, I was not sitting there anticipating I'd become the most Googled man on the planet and that a few seconds could be taken out of context. That was not my anticipation.
No, but it's
I
still
didn't
what
plan.
you believed. It's what you believe now. So what's the difference?
It's not about, you're asking me, you're saying that young people who are
If
impressionable.
you said to me, look, Piers, honestly, I've had time to think about this and I wish I hadn't said it. I don't believe that. That's one thing. Actually, you've said the opposite. You said, actually, that's what I think, yeah.
So that's what Piers Morgan would like him to say. But Andrew Tate probably doesn't want to say that. He doesn't want to have his speech forced to suit the narrative of what Piers Morgan would like to hear.
I think that when a...
So it doesn't really matter whether you recorded it when you're famous.
Oh, so now as he tries to talk, he just interrupts him.
Recorded it when you're famous or not famous. It's what you actually believe, right?
I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman. I believe that a woman's father gives her away to the man. That's what I believe, and that's in my marriage. That's the circumstance I'm going to live under. If people want to live in a different scenario, that's completely theirs. Their prerogative.
You went on to say about authority over women. If I have a responsibility over her, I must have a degree of authority.
Yeah.
For the same reason, if I have responsibility over and people are going to use their mind, it's an example, an analogy. Responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority.
Yeah.
So you believe as part of your ownership.
I've said that before on this channel, you know, responsibility and authority are linked and they involve accountability to unify them.
Or your property of the woman, you have authority over her.
No, I believe if you have...
That's what you said.
I believe if you have responsibility over something, you have to have a degree of authority or you can't be responsible.
Yeah, but authority means, again, that you're the boss.
The point I'm making, if you'll please let me finish
Sure.
at this point. The point I was trying to make was talking about the safety of a woman. She was walking alone at night, and I was saying, well, I wouldn't let my woman walk alone at night. And they said, well, you're not in charge of her. You don't get to decide what she does. I said, I understand, but if I'm responsible for her safety, and I'm the person who's burdened with making sure she is safe. I have to have the authority to say, don't put yourself in unsafe situations.
And one of the reasons women get into relationships with men is because of a feeling of security. You know, whether that's financial or emotional or sort of for like their physical safety. And they find it attractive in usually two ways. One as a lover, one as a provider. They feel like a sense of belonging and security. But, you know, who cares what women want? Because Piers Morgan can change the meaning of words.
The two things are linked.
Well, you don't have authority. You have you can absolutely have the right to say to the woman you're with, I don't think you should, but ultimately...
If she decides, then I can't force her.
Right, so authority...
I agree with both of them. They're both saying the same thing there. You can't force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. I think everybody who's sane can agree to that.
Right, so authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, what you're doing is you're setting the boundaries, or you're saying, look, if you're going to do this, this is how I'm going to respond to it. And then they can make their own decision. That's fair. You know, the funny thing about this is that women control relationships. They get to decide which men they're going to go out with and which ones they're not. They sexually select men. They decide to accept proposals from men and what their terms and conditions are going to be. They decide to have babies with a guy. It's all their decision. They have agency. And if they make a series of bad decisions, how can it be the guy's fault? She chose him. So if she gets into a bad relationship, whose fault is it?
The authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do and I'm responsible for
That's not what authority means.
Well,
Oh, for fuck's sake, we've got to look at authority now. Shit me. Right, authority. Authority. You will respect my authority. You will respect my authority. Fucking people can hear me, I'll bet. Authority, the power or right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. So Andrew's probably looking at the word authority. I don't want to think on his behalf, but based on the words that are coming out of this gentleman's mouth, this is what I'm going to guess. He's using the word authority to be able to make decisions for the course of the relationship as a couple. And now Piers is going to take authority to mean, I'm guessing by the words coming out of his mouth, is give orders, which is the opposite of making a decision. One has agency, one doesn't. The right to act in a specified way delegated from one person or organisation to another. Organisation, that's kind of similar to a family, isn't it? Like the head of the household. Who wears the trousers in the relationship? Somebody's got to lead the relationship. This is another thing as well. Let's say, put in relationships aside for a minute. Here's another way of looking at it. Let's say if we're in a dance and I'm the man and I'm leading and we're on Strictly Come Dancing and you're the woman and you're following. Well, I have a certain degree of authority because if I chuck you up in the air and go to catch you and I miss and you fall and break your fucking neck, then it's my fault, isn't it? You can do all this shit with words. Like, there's so many ways to see exactly what Andrew means by the words that are coming out of his mouth. And there are so many ways that it can be twisted and manipulated to make it sound like something completely fucking different.
I'm not going to, if you think I'm going to lock somebody up in their room, is that what you're implying?
No, I don't think you know what authority means.
I know what it means. I'm saying.
Well, we've just looked at the definition of what it means, and it can mean both of what you're saying. And that's why it's such a compelling argument and why you're having this discussion in the first place and banging on about it for so long. I don't know why the hell Piers is choosing to focus on this. It's a waste of time. There are so many things that these two could be talking about that would be more helpful to everybody watching and would be much better conversation to have in general. And yet Piers, who's conducting this interview, is doing a terrible job.
Of what authority
if I have responsibility for her safety, then I have to have the authority to tell her not to do unsafe.
Yeah, but authority means that you have some form of control over this woman.
I think you're trying to, what you're trying to do.
I'm only trying to get to what you think. Honestly, I am.
He's not only trying to get to what you think. He's trying to make a straw man out of you so he can then beat that straw man. Later on in the argument, he brings up the fact that this poor girl killed herself online and somehow relates that to Andrew Tate when it's got nothing to do with anything that he's spoken about. It's bizarre. It's so fucking weird.
I come with no agenda here at all.
I understand.
I think he's coming with an agenda. That's why he keeps interrupting him and speaking over the top of him. In the same way that you speak to a politician, he's trying to treat him like that.
I understand. And I'm explaining very, very clearly. If I have responsibility over said subject, I have to have authority of it. So let me say you have children, right?
Right.
You have responsibility for them.
No, I have legal authority over my children.
Oh, fuck me, Piers. Jesus Christ. Oh, conceptually, can you understand what he's trying to say? Like, you have a dog, you have a wife, you have a child, you're responsible for them.
That is very different to having legal authority over my wife or my female partner.
Completely. But the point
A marriage is a legal contract, and in certain parts of the world, if you divorce somebody and you come into the relationship with nothing, John Cleese goes into all this. If you want to get rich, just marry a guy that's already rich and divorce him, and that's how you get the world's richest women. And I don't believe they get much say in the divorce. You can't keep people married if one person doesn't want to be married. So who has the authority in the relationship? Who was in control? Who benefited most from the relationship? Who has the property now? Usually, if you're on a lower income, who gets the house in a divorce? Who gets the children in a family court? For fuck's sake, who's really in charge in the relationship? Who sexually gets to decide who they want to be in relationship and who they don't?
I'm trying to make,
So you accept that?
I accept that
Because you used the analogy of responsibility for a child.
my friend, these are very,
These are actually really important things.
they're
Andrew.
important things, but you interrupt me every 5 seconds.
He does, Andrew. You're absolutely fucking right.
Every 5 seconds. So it's hard for me to actually explain my point. The point I'm making here is very simple. You have children and you're responsible for their safety. So you're going to have authority to say, don't go out at night, perhaps because you want them to be safe.
I have legal authority.
Legal authority.
Shut the fuck up, Piers.
Authority.
Yeah.
Legal authority. I'm saying that if I had a woman, and the question where you've raised this soundbite from, I was asked about protecting a woman, making sure she's safe. And I would say I wouldn't want her to go out at night on her own because I'm responsible for her safety. And someone said, well, you don't have authority over her to do that. And I said, well, no, I can't force her to stay inside. But if she were to ask me, how do I protect myself at night? I would say, well, you should stay inside. That's how you should do it.
I don't have an issue with what
So
you
we
just said.
agree.
No.
It's the semantics.
No,
you're
it's not semantics. So this is what I...
Yeah, it is the semantics, Piers. For fuck's sake, we're going to have to Google... I'm not going to Google semantics. I'm not... Linguistics, whatever fucking word you want to use, mate. All right, you get what he's fucking saying.
don't think you quite get why there's a furore over what you say. With respect.
Oh my God. So now Piers has been assuming what women want. Now he assumes what teenage boys are thinking. And now he's going to assume what Andrew Tate's thinking. Fuck's sake, he's so presumptuous.
What you say. With respect. Because the semantics point would be if we're saying the same thing in different ways. But we're not. I'm saying to you that when you say I have to have some authority over a woman, I say to you, you have no right to any authority over a woman. You
What if she wants the authority over her?
do over a child if it's your child, because you are the legal appointed guardian of that child.
Understood.
You're not a legally appointed guardian or authority over your wife or female partner.
Legally appointed, absolutely not. I agree. However,
You need to make, like I was talking about earlier in a dance, you need to make decisions in a relationship. Well, in any given relationship, one person's usually leading and one person's following, but they're both dancing together and they're both choosing to participate to dance together or be in a relationship. Oh, what we're going to watch tonight. How are you going to make a joint decision ever if nobody's leading the interaction? You can say you're equals and all that, and yeah, you're equal dance partners, you're equal in the relationship, fair enough, but still somebody's got to lead. Somebody's got to have the final word in the joint decisions that are made. There's certain areas in a relationship where it's natural for a man to lead. There's certain areas where it's natural for a woman to lead. I'll give you an example. So let's say you go out with your wife or your girlfriend and she starts a load of arguments with people. Now a guy or a girl is coming over and now there's a fight about to break off and you've got to defend her honour even though she was in the wrong. You could wind up getting killed or going to jail or getting the shit beaten out of you, all because she was shit stirring for attention or because she was in a bad mood, and now you suffer the consequences of her poor decision making as the couple. So if there's something about to go off, you just say to your girl, come on, let's get out of here, we're going. And she can choose to stay or come with you. It's up to her. It's a free choice. But if you stay, you're on your own. I'm off, because this isn't a healthy situation to be in. There's a fight about to break out. Let's walk away. I don't want to walk away. I can't believe you. You don't tell me what to do. No, fine, stay there, but I'm not going to defend you. Oh, you're my man. You should defend me. So you should make bad decisions, and then I should suffer the consequences of your bad decisions. Why? Fuck you, bitch. I don't want to get the shit beaten out of me by these 6 guys. I'm out of here. My body, my choice. Now let's use an example for a woman. A woman's having your baby. She's about to give birth. She decides that she would like to have painkillers because it's going to hurt and it's going to rip her pussy apart with your kid's head coming out of it. And you say to her, no, you can't have pain medication. You've got to feel everything. What the fuck? You don't have that right. She will suffer the consequences of that decision making. If she doesn't want to have drugs, that's up to her. If she just wants to have drugs and painkillers, that's up to her. Her body, her choice, rights, responsibility, accountability, and the authority that's associated with that, it's all linked into one. The captain goes down with the ship. So if your man says you can't go out, it's too dangerous, If you go out and you get fucked up, it's your fault. It's got nothing to do with him. That's your decision. If a guy says, I think you should have the painkillers because it's going to hurt, and you decide not to, and you get fucked up, that's your choice. That's your decision. Nobody should be telling anybody what to do if they're not going to suffer the consequences. And when you're a team, you have to work together and be collaborative and come up with something that's going to work. And you need to have a final say in something. And there needs to be a hierarchy, because somebody is going to be in the position whereby they're going to suffer consequences. So they need to be the one to make the decisions. And if the other person isn't going to do that, that's fine. But then you can break away.
When it comes to things like personal responsibility or personal safety, men, largely by society, are accepted. We're the protectors and providers. We can sit here and pretend that in the world we live in, if me and my wife were walking down the street.
And I know this might be shocking to Piers, but women do want to be protected and provided for.
And men were to come up and try and attack us, I wouldn't be the one fighting. But we both know in reality I would.
Right.
I have a degree of responsibility to protect her. So if I have a degree of responsibility to protect her physically, then the point I'm trying to make is I will do my best to make sure she's never putting herself in unsafe situations.
Do you wish you hadn't used the word authority?
The authority is something that she would give to me.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Thank you for saying it. Thank you. That's the bit that he doesn't get.
She would come to me and say, how can I make sure I'm as safe as possible?
But I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to point
I don't want to interrupt you. Will I interrupt you?
out that's not what authority means.
Oh my God, he sounds like a fucking condescending school teacher. That's not what authority means. I am the authority on what authority means. Just shut the fuck up, Piers.
If someone gives, a person can give
voluntary
somebody else
authority.
You're not trying to find out what Andrew Tate thinks and believes. You're trying to change what he's saying into what you want things to mean.
If someone gives, a person can give
Voluntary authority is not authority.
Voluntary authority is not authority. Take away the voluntary for a minute. He's basically saying authority is not authority. For fuck's sake, Piers. Let's play that again a few times, because that was the most dumbest thing I've ever heard.
If someone gives, a person can give
voluntary authority is not authority.
Voluntary authority is not authority. Voluntary popcorn is not popcorn. Voluntary water is not water. What the fuck are you talking about? Piers Morgan Uncensored is not uncensored.
No, but that's the point. If
it's
a
not.
woman, Piers.
Andrew, stop.
Piers.
Andrew's not. Andrew's not. My voice is going really high because I think I just figured out I'm talking a load of shit.
Andrew, stop.
Piers, if a woman comes to me and says, I want you to keep me safe, she is handing me authority for her safety.
But do you understand the difference between having authority over somebody and somebody giving you permission
Oh my God, that is a good question to ask yourself, Piers.
to have authority?
Completely. I never said
One is consensual and one isn't.
But why are we pretending I do unconsensual things?
Oh, fucking hell.
Consensual things.
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority. I have to have some authority.
Yeah, they're his terms and conditions for the relationship.
Authority. I have to have some authority. And the point about
Only if
this-
I'm responsible for her safety. If
Yes.
I'm not responsible for her safety, I don't have authority.
If your position now is that with her permission, I would like to have authority when we go out at night to protect her, that's a different
That was
thing.
always my position.
But that's not what you said.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Piers. Piers is trying to backtrack here.
So again, I simply say to you,
It is what I said, though.
Do you wish you'd phrased it a different way?
No, because we're talking about long format copy where I'm talking about a woman who has come to me and said, you're responsible for making sure
I hate it when people say shit like that. Oh, you should have said this, so you should have phrased it a different way. Do you want to think about what you just said? It's like, stop fucking trying to exert authority over my speech. What does authority mean? I'm going to start eating the popcorn now. Fuck it.
format copy where I'm talking about a woman who has come to me and said, you're responsible for making sure I'm safe. I said, well, then I have to make the decisions.
When an
which gives me
18-year-old
authority.
boy reads, I must have some authority over a woman, what do you think he thinks?
Well,
What do you think he thinks? I don't know. Go fucking ask him.
I understand that, and I said this earlier when you tried to say I was backtracking, which I'm not doing. I understand.
No, actually, I'm not. I don't want to.
Okay.
I'm not trying to gotcha you.
Cool.
I'm trying to.
It feels like he's trying to gotcha you.
To work out exactly what you actually
I understand
think.
with massive fame comes massive responsibility. I understand that a percentage of the population are always going to take everything that's said by anybody out of context.
Would you change the wording of what you said there?
No, I would just encourage people to watch my long format copy and understand it
Would
fully.
you tell an 18-year-old boy you don't have authority over women?
Absolutely.
You would say that?
Unless a woman comes to him and says, you're responsible for my safety, please make sure keep me safe. Like
I
my
see.
woman
Now
says,
that
comes to
Andrew
me.
Tate, I can sign up to.
Well, there you go. For fuck's sake. How long did that fucking take? You could have spoken about something that was more important than this.
Well, then we agree.
Yeah, but I don't agree with what you said before.
Because you're taking a soundbite from a 2-hour
but you haven't
conversation.
Yeah, but you haven't been taken out of context because I read you the entire sentence. It's very.
But you've ignored all the context around the sentence, my friend.
You can't ignore a sentence that says, I must have a degree of authority.
He has an intention, he's saying something, and the words are there as an indicator as to what he means. And Piers is just extracting the words and going after the pedanticness of the words, as opposed to listening to the intent of what he's saying and the gist of what he's saying and the content. It's like using the letter of the law as opposed to the spirit of the law. He's using the letter and the wording to suit his agenda, to make an interesting conversation that's going to generate millions of views for his YouTube channel, which he's successfully done.
But you can when there's a 2-hour conversation where a woman is telling me if she makes me responsible for her safety, and me explaining, well, if I'm responsible for your safety, I have the authority to make decisions. So yes, you've ignored all the context.
Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you respect women, Piers? So now Piers Morgan has argued the toss with Andrew over the definition of words and then said that that's not what he's doing. Let's see what else he's got to say.
You can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman.
This is where Piers Morgan is an advocate of free choice for women, and rightly so. And I agree with that. Women have the right to choose who they get to sleep with and who they don't. There are even some websites that are set up so that women can go out with guys that have a lot of money, and it's doing it based on their finances. So that's how picky they can be in their sexual selection. The choice of women to be able to sleep with whoever they want to sleep with and have personal preferences in their sexual selection process. And so do men. And men have a preference, and they get to choose who they get to sleep with and who they don't. And society accepts this as well, which is why when you go on a dating app like Tinder, you get to choose what type of person that you're looking for, whereabouts they're located, if they're a man or a woman, what age they are. That's important, what age they are, because it's one of a multivariate analysis of picking a partner. So let's say if Andrew's attracted to younger women for whatever reason, and he says, yeah, I prefer a 19-year-old over a 25-year-old. Well, she's over 18, isn't she? She's a woman. She can get to decide to do whatever she wants with her life and her body. And she can choose him as a boyfriend if she wishes. And he can choose her as part of his sexual selection process as a man. But let's say that Andrew prefers a younger girl for whatever reason. Well, Piers doesn't like that very much. He's not allowed the same sexual selection without being judged harshly. But now Piers seems to have a problem with Tate's personal tastes.
A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Why?
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds.
And broke men are less desirable than rich men. What's your point when it comes to female sexual selection?
And having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
For Andrew, not for necessarily everyone else.
Well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
But what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old women.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny.
On age, again, you can see my other video. I've put the link in the description to me going into this further.
Women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny then, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Well, being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
But being anti any woman at all is misogyny. I mean, you could take that clip out of context and put it all across the internet, and now you sound misandrous.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying the age.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, then ageist perhaps, but misogynistic absolutely
Is that
not.
but you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
Andrew didn't say it was misogyny, Piers did, and now Piers is saying that Andrew said it. It's not true. Like, he's trying to trip him up so much. Again, it's very similar to Kathy Newman. He's trying to trip Andrew up so much in the same way Kathy Newman was trying to trip up Jordan Peterson, that they don't realise how much of a fool they're looking themselves.
That it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
So you don't think if you're saying slightly hateful things about a 25-year-old...
That's not slightly hateful.
Well, it is. You think you...
Well, again, he's changing, like, that's his opinion. It's got nothing to do with what he meant by it. He didn't mean anything hateful for it by having a sexual preference.
You say that to a woman's face if she's 25?
No, of course he didn't say that to a fucking woman's face, you dickhead.
It's not slightly hateful. When
So you would go up to a 25-year-old woman and tell her exactly what I've just read out?
Why would I walk up to a random 25-year-old
Because you said
woman
it in public
and
on
say
the
that?
internet, and it's been listened to and watched by millions and millions of young,
Correct.
impressionable boys.
Correct. There was a large panel. There was a conversation. There was hours long of conversation. There were feminists attacking men for toxic masculinity and attacking me and saying things. And I said things back which were going to antagonize
But I think,
them.
Is there a masculinists? You know, you got feminists. Is there a masculinists? I don't think there is there?
So, which you've done yourself a bunch of times.
I think a lot of allegations of toxic masculinity are not toxic.
Correct.
I do.
And a lot of allegations of toxic femininity are toxic.
I do think that kind of sentence that I just read out, that paragraph,
You know what this interview needs is Meghan Markle just to come in and represent women and see if she thinks Piers Morgan is misogynistic.
is actually toxic. If you genuinely mean that, and you say you wouldn't say it to a woman's face, but you said it in public about women of that age, I do think that's misogynist. And I think you probably do too.
Here's the problem with this conversation. If I talk about something in general, like human beings are littering the planet, somebody could get offended at that. Excuse me a minute, I'm a human being. I don't litter the planet. I'm not talking about you then, am I? The same is true if some girl comes on Facebook. Oh, my boyfriend just cheated on me. Men are all pigs. I don't go on there and say, excuse me, I'm a man and I'm not a pig. Like, it's bollocks, isn't it? Human beings litter the planet. Excuse me, I'm a human being and I don't litter the planet. I think you should say some human beings litter the planet. I think you should say, I think you should rephrase it and say some human beings re-litter the planet. What the fuck are you talking about? Now I can't speak generally. And also I can't speak specifically. Say, for example, I've used the example of Meghan Markle with, Piers Morgan and stuff, because he was like essentially saying that she was full of bullshit when she gave that Oprah interview. No, she's full of bullshit. She? What, you're against women, Piers? You've said something bad about a woman. That means you're misogynistic. Because, according to you...
No, it's not.
Being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
I think all white knights, which is what Piers Morgan is in this situation, are being the brave Sir Lancelot to defend women. And it's so disingenuous. There are good people in the world and there are bad people in the world. There are good behaviours and bad behaviours. And some of them are men and some of them are women. Men have good behaviours and bad behaviours. Women have good behaviours and bad behaviours. But no, there are any bad behaviours that are highlighted is misogyny. Because...
Being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
I want to have sex with this girl, but not this girl. Because I'm attracted to this girl and not this girl. And the things that attract me to this girl are this. And the things that I'm not attracted to in this girl are this. Now you're misogynist for being sexually attracted to one type of woman. Fucking idiots.
I don't think it's misogynistic. I understand why it can be insulting. To
You wouldn't say it to a woman's face.
Because it's not a personal insult. By saying a generalisation, people can decide to take things personally or not. And you can't be specific to people as well. Because if you go on and say, oh, Dave litters the planet, Dave can come on and say, that's defamation. I'm going to sue you now because I don't do that. So you can't speak specifically about a person and say that they're a lie, cheating and deceiving when sometimes that they are. And you can't speak generally about the person to relate to the experience either, to acknowledge that that behaviour goes on. Very similar to the Me Too campaign. So if we can't call out bad behaviour because it's using general where everyone can get offended, and we can't be specific because you can get sued, then how can we talk about anything? The bloody keyboard warriors are coming on saying, oh, you need to use the word some people some of the time. We've just got to use the word some all the time, just so that everyone doesn't get offended. There are some people some of the time. Fuck's sake.
And I think you probably do too.
I don't think it's misogynistic. I understand why it can be insulting.
You wouldn't say it to a woman's face.
Well, it depends. You're making out like I'm walking around the street going up to random 25-year-olds.
Well, effectively, you're doing it to tens of millions of people online. There's no difference.
No, he's saying his opinion to tens of millions of people online, Piers, for fuck's sake.
Not at all. We're discussing a topic. We were discussing the ideal age of a man.
Should young boys...
Married people get divorced. Hang on a minute, I'm a married person and I didn't get divorced. Well, then I wasn't talking about you then, was I? But a lot of people do get divorced when they get married. I'm a married person and I'm offended. I can't believe you'd say this about married people.
Young boys, right, in their teens, are you comfortable that they would have that mindset? Be honest.
I think that young boys in their teens lack life experience. They lack nuance. And they need to be very, very careful what they're digesting online, whether it's my content or anybody else's.
Yeah,
I think
you know for a fact millions of them are digesting exactly what you're saying.
I think they could digest Piers Morgan's content and then think that they're a misogynist because they have a sexual preference when it comes to women.
Being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
completely. The entire internet, to a degree, I think any subject you can find, there's going to be a whole heap of
I
content.
come back to the Joe Rogan thing, Andrew. Is that a lot of what you say, I agree with.
Yeah.
Right? I do, genuinely.
Yes, it's felt like a very agreeable conversation, Piers. You know, I think, hats off to Piers Morgan. I think what he's probably doing here, because he could grill out, like, if I wanted to, I could do a thing on Andrew Tate, and it could be very meticulous and logical, and he'd find it very difficult to defend it. But I'm not going to, because I like the guy, and I believe in what he's saying, and I agree with his ethos. But anybody can be pulled up on anything. You could take my videos and say, well, you said this in this video and that in that video, so therefore there's a discrepancy, you're full of shit. Anybody can do that. But why play that game? Why not just really try and find out what somebody believes by asking a series of intelligent questions and shutting the fuck up and listening to what he's got to say? Instead of trying to put words into his mouth or change the meaning of words that come out of his mouth.
I've written a lot of stuff you said. A lot of the stuff you talk about, I think, yeah, he's got a good point, right? So we agree about a lot of things.
Let's end that there, because I'm getting a bit wound up listening to this bullshit. I don't know how Andrew kept his cool the whole time. I know he used to be a fighter, so he's probably used to keeping his cool. But some people just talk so much shit and try and misrepresent what you say all the time, and it's bollocks. I'm exhausted now. That's the end of that behind closed doors. Hello, my name is Doug and I've created a video tutorial called What to Message a Girl for Online Dating Success. The reason why I've created this product is to help those men out there who are dating online but are not getting the replies or getting the dates that they desire. My product will teach you what to message a girl, what not to message a girl, when to message a girl, how to respond when you're not sure what to write, what to do if she doesn't reply, how to get her phone number, and how to communicate to get online dating success. If you're getting matches and no success, this product is for you. It's what you need to do today to start getting success with your matches. I'll also be talking about other issues such as how to spot red flags, identify time wasters, to stay out the friend zone, how to deal with ghosting, simmering and icing. Not only will I be giving you exactly what you need, copy and paste, I'll also be explaining to you the reason why I'm writing what I'm writing so you can understand the psychology and know what behaviours to look out for and which ones to avoid. This product is packed with value. I've tried to cram as much as I can into a short amount of time as possible while being the most informative. If you're a man and you're confused and frustrated with what to text with online dating, this product is the solution for you to get more dates in less time. Click the link in the description box below to buy the product and change your dating life forever.